Hello, welcome to USA Today Acoustic, and I'm so thrilled to welcome Aya to the studio to chat with us. Aya, a great performance for us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been great. So Aya, tell us about your upbringing in Milwaukee. Like, what was the music that really inspired you, whether it was artists or family? I know you grew up in a Palestinian-American household as well. Mm-hmm. Tell me about those kind of influences for you, and what led you to realize, I too want to create music?
So I didn't really grow up in a musical family at all. I mean, my family was very musical in terms of like music taste, and there was always music playing in my house, but nobody else was singing. Mm-hmm. But I was singing like as long as I could remember, since I was like a little kid. I remember when I was like 5, I was my sister's best friend growing up. She like loved singing and was in choirs and all that stuff, and she would tell me like, you should do choir when you grow up, like you should stick to this. And so I ended up doing choir in like middle school, high school, and I was big into choir, like huge into choir, and a bunch of choirs, like musicals and all types of things. In terms of like music artist influences, I grew up listening to a lot of like Whitney Houston and Michael Jackson. In terms of like Arabic artists, Fairuz and Kulthum, those are like the two main artists that I grew up on, like on the Arab side. And Amy Winehouse is another one, who actually is like probably one of my biggest like music inspirations to this day. One of the big pushes for me to start like actually writing my own music, for sure.
And were you growing up in Milwaukee? Forgive me, or where were you?
Yeah, so Milwaukee and Franklin, Wisconsin.
Franklin. Okay, gotcha. Okay. So you were listening to this music, listening to the music in your family that they would play. Yeah. At what point did you realize and you were doing some singing, but at what point did you realize I want to like make music as well, write music? When did you start writing songs?
So when I was in high school, I had my little ukulele, and I would write like little verses here and there, but I never like committed to writing a song. I always wanted to be like an artist. I always like had a fantasy of like having a band and stuff when I was a kid. But I never I just kept telling myself like that couldn't be me. Like I'm not that person. I'm too like introverted or awkward or whatever. Like I kept telling that to myself, and then eventually I was just like, well, we're just gonna try. I have all these emotions in me, all these thoughts. I have a lot of creativity within me that is like waiting to be unleashed. I would always like hum melodies over songs and stuff. So I knew I was like capable, but I never like actually told myself I could be an artist until like maybe 3 years ago. 3.5 is like when I started finishing songs and recording them, and performing started like March of 3 years ago. And since then I've done like 80 shows, and I'm really happy with like what I do with music now and sharing it. It took me a while to like get out of my own head in terms of like actually doing it. At the time I started writing music, I was listening to a lot of artists like Amy Winehouse or Jill Scott, like Ari Lennox, like artists that are very like raw and honest about the things that they go through and experience. And they're kind of the artists that say things the way you think them, but like you can't put into words, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I really resonated with that, and I felt like I needed like a diary, if that makes sense. I needed to treat music like my diary, pretty much. And that's what I did. All my music is really vulnerable and raw and honest, and like you don't really know me unless you hear my music, you know? And ever since I started writing, it's just been my literal diary. Yeah, and
I think that's what I find so striking about your music. I think the first thing I heard from you was June. And the song June is extremely vulnerable and extremely open. And I was just amazed by how open and vulnerable you were. And I think it's kind of amazing, too, that you mentioned you felt maybe some introspection, felt a little awkward.
Yeah.
Tell me about getting to the point in your life where you're like, okay, I can do this. Not only can I, try to share music, sing with people, write music, share my songs. Not only am I going to do that, I'm going to use my music as a diary, as like showing you the deepest feelings in my head, feelings of insecurities and sadness and things that people are uncomfortable to share sometimes.
Yeah.
Tell me about how you're able to get to that headspace.
I guess I just wanted to harness my insecurities and make it something valuable, if that makes sense, to me and to others. A lot of people, like, they're afraid to talk about their emotions and, bear their feelings out on their sleeve. And I kind of want to create a safe space for people to relate to me. So as I mentioned, those artists that I was inspired by, when I was listening to their music, I felt like, wow, like they are saying things exactly how I feel. And I only hope to like do that with my music for other people. So yeah, I've always been like I say in Talk is Cheap, like I've always been a yapper. I've always been like an oversharer. But I've also always been like insecure about it. So, I don't think it's something to be ashamed of. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone, if they say they don't, they're lying. Even like the people with the hugest egos in the world, like even Kanye West has insecurities. Like literally everyone has insecurities, And I think I just want to normalize the human experience and being a person, and not just like, I'm the baddest in the city. Like, I'm being real, and that's all I can be, like my authentic self. So.
And that's exactly why your music is so good, because it is so authentic, it is so real, it is so just straight from the heart.
That means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, talk about you shared 3 songs with us, beautiful songs, very open-hearted songs, very vulnerable songs. Talk us through those 3 songs, why you chose to sing them, where your head was at with those songs, what you're trying to convey with those songs.
Yeah. Pink Lady, I want to say, was like one of my first like happy love songs I ever made. I kind of got stuck in a loop of only writing or using music and songwriting when I was feeling negative emotions. But with Pink Lady, I kind of just wanted to like bring the feeling of like the warmth and like excitement of like a new love that I was feeling at the time. I just love bossa nova kind of beats. I've always loved that kind of style. So when I found that beat, I was like, this is the one. And it's actually kind of based on a true story. Like, well, not even kind of. It was like I was kind of falling in love with someone in that fall. And I talk about like the leaves, like we're growing and changing together, and picking pink lady apples off the tree. Like we were at a pumpkin farm when I like started. That day I felt like I really felt like deep emotion for that person, and like I was falling for them, and I wanted to really emulate that in the song, and I feel like I did a good job. I can't lie.
Yeah, you did.
No, yeah, I definitely feel like I conveyed that, and it's like a fun, happy, like almost like childlike wonder, kind of like giddy kind of song.
But it's very personal. It sounds really great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I appreciate it.
You performed 2 other songs for us. Talk us through those, including one that you haven't released yet.
Yeah, Talk is Cheap was my next song, and Talk is Cheap is not out yet. I'm still working on getting it out. Hopefully it'll be my next release. But Talk is Cheap is about being a yapper. I do talk a lot. I talk out of my ass. I talk out of my ass sometimes. I talk a lot. And sometimes I talk in the song about how like some things I say are not always positive, and like my self-control is not always there when it comes to yapping. And I've always known that I was the kid that would always get in trouble like for talking to other kids in class. Like I would like, she would move me from like table to table because I would be talking. So yeah, I know a lot of people can like relate to that. Like certified yapper is like a coined term of like Gen Z right now, and younger. And I definitely I thought it would be a song that people would relate to, because I don't know if I've heard many songs about like people talking and talking and talking. So yeah. That Talk is Cheap. I really plan to release it soon.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Awesome. And the third song that you performed for us.
Yes. Unknown,
Yep.
it's probably one of my favorite songs I've ever wrote. That's why I like always choose to perform it, no matter what show it is. I'm always going to perform Unknown. It's the first ballad I ever wrote. I also feel like it was my first song I wrote like out of like a stream of consciousness and just like sat down and like poured my emotions out on in my notes app.
Yeah.
Almost said on a page, but it was my notes app.
Yeah.
And I always have struggled with like the anxiety around the unknown and not trusting that everything is going to be okay, not trusting that everything's going to play out. I still struggle with that to this day. And one thing I really struggled with that was in regards to like relationships and stuff. So in that song, I really just focus on kind of conveying like the knowing that you're not treating yourself how you should be treated in a relationship and knowing that it's not good for you or the person you're with. And yeah, like RuPaul always says, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you gonna love anybody else? And it's like it's really so true. And yeah. I didn't learn it. I learned it the hard way, pretty much. I had to learn it the hard way. And that's what Unknown is about. Me learning it the hard way, realizing like, love is not sustainable unless you are pouring into yourself. You teach others how you want to be loved by how you love yourself. So
that's a beautiful message. I'm glad you've learned that, and through your music, you can help other people learn that as well. You know?
Yeah, music has always been like a way of me processing my emotions, like and processing my actual thoughts and opinions, and like just like they're kind of checkpoints on my growth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
In terms of like checkpoints for your music career, what have been some things that you've been able to accomplish by being a musician now in Milwaukee? Some things that you're most proud of, whether it's certain opportunities, and what are some things you have concretely lined up, or some aspirational goals where you hope to take your music and going forward?
Yeah. So in terms of things that I've done that have been really cool so far are I got to perform at like Turner Hall for Radio Milwaukee. That was really cool. I've done a lot of shows with Radio Milwaukee and they play my stuff often, and that's a really cool experience. Yeah. JP, I sang vocals on Serenity with a group of other artists, or singers, and I also did vocals on another song that's not out yet. Okay. That was a really cool opportunity, just getting to know him as a person. I also opened for Iris Starr at Summerfest this year. That was really incredible because I look up to Iris Starr like a lot. She inspires me. I also did another Summerfest gig this year, and this was my first year ever doing Summerfest. I did Pride Fest. I've done like, it's called PBS Rhythm Cafe. It was like it's kind of similar to this kind of thing, like songs and interview, and that was a really cool experience. I really hope to one day do a Tiny Desk. That's like probably one of my like biggest goals. But as for like huge dreams of music, like I kind of take it day by day.
Sure.
I started not seeking like fame or anything like blowing up or virality. I don't really look for that. I just share my art and see like whatever comes out of it, if that makes sense. I just do this because I love it. I don't really like the things that make it feel like a job.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of take them as they come, and whatever the universe puts in front of me, I'm like, okay, so this is showing me that I have potential here.
No, you've definitely shown that. I mean, the art you're sharing is so wonderful, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.